Guys, what we are discussing last class? Hey, exception handling. Oh my God. So we are learning rules of checked exception. Huh? We are learning rules of checked exception. We completed third rule half. We need to learn next rule. If a superclass method has throws checked exception in a subclass, we must override this method either by ignoring throws checked exception or only by throwing the same checked exception or only by throwing its subclasses, but not by throwing either superclass or sibling or more checked exception. Okay. Look at here why this rule is created. I have superclass method. Subclass is overriding that method. It has some throws checked exception there. Now, these overriding rules, actually you need to understand, the overriding rules are formed for making sure user class is successfully executed. User class programmer calling the method which is available in the superclass for achieving loose coupling and runtime polymorphism, he will always call the method available in superclass. Am I right? In a superclass, the method informing is throws, let's say, checked exception, class not found exception if informed. Then below, now the subclass, user class programmer, when he call the method, he will catch which exception, class not found exception. Now, subclass programmer is not adding any exception. Any problem to user class programmer? No. Program terminator normal. If he throwing the same checked exception, class not found exception, that can be catched by this catch block, user class program terminator normal. Next, if he throwing subclass of this class not found exception, yes, it is catched by the catch block of class not found exception, user class program terminated normal. Okay. Then next, if you are throwing superclass of class not found exception, can it catch by this catch block? No. User class program terminated abnormally. Okay, don't throw exception, no problem. Throw same checked exception, no problem. Throw it subclass, no problem. If you throw superclass or sibling means what? Interrupted exception. If you throw interrupted exception, is it catched by this catch block? No. Program terminated abnormally. Now I am throwing class not found exception, comma, I interrupted exception, more exceptions I am throwing, and tell me now, program terminated abnormally. Okay, so we are not allowed to throw superclass or sibling or more checked exceptions. If you try, compiler throw error. Now the twist is, tell me, I am not throwing the same checked exception. I am throwing unchecked exception, arithmetic exception. Is it allowed or not allowed? Come on, everyone should answer. Is it allowed or not allowed? If I am throwing unchecked exception, is it allowed or not allowed? It is allowed. Why allowed? It is allowed. Why allowed? Tell me. It is unchecked exception. Compiler software will not verify. Is it allowed to? Is it handle or not handle? Catcher not catcher? Compiler doesn't worry. So that's why unchecked exceptions you can add, because compiler will not worry about the unchecked exceptions, right? When compiler has seen AE, just it is ignoring it. If not unchecked exception, then only it is applying all these rules. Now let us try to verify. Hope you already written these notes, right? Already have written these notes. Now let us try to see programming section to verify all these points. Program is only for verifying, not for learning. From the day beginning, I'm telling, only for verifying what are the points we learn correct or wrong. Okay. And now I have created my own exception as subclass of class not found exception. Now class not found exception superclass, my exception is subclass. Now class A, which contain M2 method throws class not found exception. Now class B extends A. I ignored throws exception. Any problem? No problem. Class C extends A. I'm writing throws class not found exception. Any problem? No problem. Next, class D extends A, throws my exception. Any problem? No problem. Compile successfully. Now I am writing M2 method with a throws super class of class not found exception. Any problem? Yes, problem. Okay, error. M2 in E cannot override M2 in A. Okay, now overridden method doesn't throw exception. Okay, next, now I'm commenting it. Now I'm writing here, throws interrupted exception, control one, compile. Now look at there, control one, compile. Look at here, error, M2 in F cannot override M2 in A. Overridden method doesn't throw interrupted exception. Overridden method means super class method doesn't throw interrupted exception. Okay, now I'm adding more siblings, okay, more exceptions. Now compiler throw error, same error, cannot override. M2 in G cannot override M2 in A. Overridden method means super class method doesn't throw interrupted exception. Excuse me. Okay, next. Class H extends throws arithmetic exception. Any problem? No problem. Because unchecked exception. I'm adding more. Any problem? No problem. Okay. I'm adding subclass. Any problem? No problem. Compile successful. Okay. Please write on these test cases. Last class we have not written these test cases. Completed? Narendra, what is your question? Unmute and ask. Narendra, I didn't understand your English. That's why I'm asking you to unmute and ask. Okay, let's go to the next point. You don't want to ask. So much confusion. That's your problem, no? Not my problem, right? How many classes you remember? How many checked exception classes you remember? How many unchecked exception classes you remember to avoid from the confusion? Hmm? Tell me. There are hundreds of classes checked exceptions, hundreds of classes of unchecked exceptions are there. How many you remember? You are confusion masters. You are having your own brain. Okay, your own brain, and you are following your own brain, and you are confusing yourself. Who can help you to solve that problem? No one can help. I given 3 classes, working with 3 classes. Class not found exception, interrupted exception. Understand subject with these exceptions. Later we can find where these checked, where these unchecked. How can you find? I'll let you know. Am I using so many classes here to confuse you? Am I using so many classes? Only 3 classes I taken. Useless brain. Always you'll train your mind to confuse. Always asking your mind, please confuse. Nana, oh my God, please confuse, please confuse. This is only the instructions giving to your mind. Am I talking about any classes list? I'm talking about concept. For that concept, examples we need to take. Shall I close this topic? Unnecessary confusions. Na? All faculties are teaching only this first point and winding up, so that no confusions are there. Because I'm teaching these many points, complete list I'm teaching. That's why people are getting confusion and irritating like anything. Shall I close? Now the next topic is you cannot understand. Next rule is the most confusion topic. Only experienced people can understand. Like you, dirty students, dirty mind students cannot understand. who wants to become software engineer, who wants to become experienced programmer, only they can understand. Okay. So next topic is most, this is small point say you are confusing. The next point is horrible. You cannot understand. So that's why I'm getting doubt now. Shall I wind up? Let me go to the next topic. I think that's better, right? Let me hide all the confusion points. Nowadays, students are becoming the most worst mind people. I'm telling you, really, I'm really facing so many problems. However I teach, they will come up with a word. However I teach. If I give a list of the classes, they will come up with a word. Sir, how can I remember these many classes, sir? I'm confusing, sir. If I don't give the list, first you give list, sir, so that I will remember. What are you doing? Are you not reading material? Huh? Are you not reading material? Are you following material or not? I'm talking to the person who confused. In material, are clearly given. What else you want me to give? What is this? Here hierarchy given diagram. These are all unchecked exceptions. These are the checked exceptions. Every day you are reading. Then why you are asking me? Give me the list of checked exceptions. Give me the list of unchecked exceptions. What is this diagram? Guys, many times I requested, come to the class to understand what I am trying to tell, not to confuse yourself. You don't have your own ideas. As long as you don't have your ideas, as long as you have a mindset to follow faculty, you don't have confusions. When you have your own way of learning, when you have your own way of, think, better you can follow Google and you can search and learn. No need to follow any faculty. Okay. Okay. All you people understand? Class A, I have a method called M1, which contain throws, class not found exception. I'm writing class B, which is extending from A. Inside this method, I am overriding M1 method. Now here, can I write any checked exception or only class not found exception? Come on, reply, yes or no. Here I can write only class not found exception or any checked exception. Yeah, great answer given by Mr. Narendra. Any checked exception I can write under. Any exception I can write. Wonderful answer. So this type of people are daily coming to class to torture me. And further, they want to go to software industry to torture customer and to torture clients, to torture company, to torture team lead, to torture team manager. Just now completed points, you written notes also, and you are now telling that any checked exception I can throw. Great person. Here I can place either class not found exception or it's a subclass, right? Okay. Now tell me, why are you overriding this M1 method here? Why are you overriding that M1 method here? Why are you overriding that M1 method here? For placing my own logic. Okay, for writing my own logic, to place my own logic, right? To place my own logic, we are writing M1 method here. Then now my question, try to answer. I am writing one statement here, thread.sleep. I want to pass M1 method execution for 100 milliseconds. For that, we should call predefined method called sleep, which is available in the class called thread. So thread class predefined class dot sleep is a static method which take the time as an argument and pass this method execution for 100 milliseconds. Now, when you call sleep method passes the method execution. When you are sleeping, some other person can interrupt you. If some other person interrupt you, you will get angry and scold them. In Java, scolding is nothing but what? Exception. In Java, scolding is nothing but exception. So when you write thread.sleep of 100, if anybody interrupt the sleep state of this method before 100 milliseconds completed, this sleep method throws one checked exception called interrupted exception. Understand my explanation? While overriding superclass method, inside the method logic, I am writing whatever the logic I need. While writing your own logic, if the method which you are writing throwing some checked exception, can I leave that method call just like that? Come on. Can I leave that method call just like that without handling? First rule, when you receive checked exception, I must handle it. Sleep method is throwing checked exception to M2 method. M2 method must handle the checked exception. Now control 1, compile. Look at there. We got compile time error, unreported exception, interrupted exception must be caught or declared to be thrown. Unreported exception, interrupted exception must be caught or declared to be thrown. So tell me how to handle this exception. I must write what? Everyone tell me. How to handle? I must handle what? Throws interrupted exception like this. Now tell me. Can I write throws interrupted exception like that? Think. Think and tell me. Can I write throws interrupted exception here? Everyone answer. Right or wrong? Don't worry. Answer. Sitting like a statues and suddenly you will get confusions and all nonsense you create in the class. I'm asking question, reply. Will throw na, will not throw na, compile time error or not compile time error. For typing yes or no, what is the problem? Here I am trying to write M2 method to write throws interrupted exception. Is it allowed or not allowed? Depending on this is a user defined method or overriding method. It is a overriding method where in class A. In class A, this method is reporting which exception? Class not found exception. Then from this method, what exception we can throw? We can report only class not found exception or it's a subclass. What exception I am reporting? Interrupted exception. Interrupted exception can report or cannot report? Cannot, because it is a sibling. Who will face the problem if a report interrupted exception? Subclass, superclass, user class? User class, right? User class will face problem. So, is it allowed or not allowed? Not allowed. Compiler throwing error. M2 in L cannot override M2 in A. Overridden method doesn't throw interrupted exception. Okay? Now tell me, what is the point you need to understand? When you override a method, as part of method logic, if you write some logic, as part of method logic, if you are trying to raise different checked exception, can I report it? No. Then what I need to do? I can only fill the gap. I can only catch. I can only catch. Look at that. Is there any compile time error? No compile time error. Understand the rule? Right. Rule on throwing different checked exception from a overriding method. From a overriding method, it is not possible to throw different checked exception. Compiler will throw error. We can only catch that exception. Completed? Write on this. Here compile time error for handling. Here compile time error. Completed? Now try to understand now. If you catch exception, there is a big problem. What is the problem? If you catch exception, there is a big problem. Think what could be the problem? If you catch exception, there is a big problem. What is the problem? User class programmer calls this M1 method. M1 method executed from subclass. Then if thread.sleep method throwing checked exception, I didn't catch this I didn't throw this exception. I catch this exception. Try open bracket, closed bracket, catch of interrupted exception E, open bracket, closed bracket. Then here I am just catching exception and writing SOPL and some blah 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 message. Exception rise or something. Then all the people try to think after this exception completed, after this exception raised, it is catch the exception. Control coming back to user class with exception or normally. Control come to here with exception or normally. Control come back here with exception or normally. Normally. Yes or no? Is the points understand? User class programmer don't know that exception raised in this program or not. If user programmer not receive the exception, next lines of the code executed normally. If next lines of code executed normally, then tell me here in these statements what happened? Program not executed successful means we are getting wrong results now. Exception raised, you catch that exception, not informed to user class programmer. Then here expected result is not generated. Programmer feel that okay, it's a normally execution, next lines are executed, and finally will get wrong results. So what is the solution to this problem? To solve this problem, only one solution: you have to throw exception. You must not catch exception in your program. You must throw exception. But to throw exception, okay, to throw exception, what I need? But to throw exception, what we need? This method is a overriding method. Okay, this overriding method not allowing us to throw different checked exception. Let me give one example, you will understand. Okay, I am a normal person. Okay, and now I want to kill my enemy. For killing my enemy, in my hand, I'm taking big sword and then going on the road. Am I allowed or not allowed? If I am taking one big sword in my hand and going on the road, so people will look at me and call to the police department and catch me now. Then what I am doing? I am taking one bag. Inside bag, I am placing the sword. Okay, and now Now this bag I'm holding, and now I am going to the place where my enemy is available, going on the road, and finally I found my enemy. Okay, then now after reaching enemy, what I will do, I will take this sword outside and started killing him. Understand what I did? I am not allowed to carry sword on the road directly. Then what I did, I wrapped I wrapped the I wrapped the sword inside a bag which is allowed to take on the road. Okay, so when I'm taking bag on the road, no one will check what is there inside the bag. Okay, so outside bag can be allowed. Same point here. Placing this sword is nothing but interrupted exception. What is allowed? What is allowed? What is allowed to take on the road bag? That bag is nothing but class not found exception. Okay, class not found exception. M2 method allows us to throw what exception? Class not found exception. Then what I need to do in this, catch block, very simple point. After catching exception, I must throw once again the exception. What exception only I can throw? Class not found exception only I can throw. Then throw new class not found exception. You want to throw class not found exception or interrupted exception? Is it the main exception causing? No, this exception is coming because of interrupted exception. Now that interrupted exception I should store in this exception. Everybody got clarity? Yeah? Throw new class not found exception. Take class not found exception and throw inside the class not found exception, you place interrupted exception. And now look at this example here. So now bag is allowed to take on the road, but its sword is not allowed to take on the road. So what I did, I place the sword inside the bag and taken on the road. So class not found exception allowed to throw. Inside class not found exception, interrupted exception is there. Compiler don't know that point and compiler will not verify. Then tell me, if class not found exception is coming with interrupted exception, no problem. The exception coming here as what type? Class not found exception. Catch block can catch exception? Yes. And now control is go to catch block. In the catch block, exception handling logic I have written to take next decisions. So finally problem solved? Yes. So that is the point I'm trying to tell. Placing the exception, placing one exception in another exception. Placing one exception in another exception is called what? Exception chaining. Okay. And now what the point? If we need to throw different checked exception from a overriding method, we cannot throw it directly. We cannot throw it directly. We cannot throw it directly. Here, we must implement exception chaining by using either same superclass overridden method, okay, same class overridden method throwing checked exception, or by unchecked exception runtime exception class. Then what is a exception chaining? Exception chaining means throwing an exception by wrapping in other exception is called exception chain. Exception chaining means throwing an exception by wrapping in other exception is called exception chain. Write down the statement. Continuation. If the overridden method throwing checked exception doesn't support exception chaining. We must use unchecked exception, runtime exception. Completed? Okay, look at here. M2 method contains what exception? Class not found exception. Class not found exception doesn't support exception chaining. Okay, how can I know, sir, exception chaining supporting or not? When you create object of a class, we are calling constructor. Na? This class must accept this exception object as argument. If you want your class accept exception class as an argument, it should have parameter exception. Na? Come on, come on, come on. So what the point? If an exception class doesn't have exception or throwable parameter constructor, if an exception class doesn't have exception or throwable parameter constructor, this exception class doesn't support exception chain. Okay, got clarity here? And now let's write this point here, compile time error because class not found exception class doesn't have what class? Doesn't have exception parameter constructor. That means this class don't want to support. This class don't want to support exception chain. It is telling that either throw me or throw my subclass, not siblings by wrapping. Right in that point. Then what the solution? You have to throw, solution is, you have to throw runtime exception class. Solution, we must use okay, now there is a question. Can anybody ask? Think. I am explaining this point from the user class point of view. Now user class programmer call A class M2 method executing from O class. Then here we have thrown interrupted exception either via sleep method or via directly by myself. Then this exception catch by catch block. Now runtime exception you are throwing by wrapping interrupted exception. Now this runtime exception class coming to what? User class. Then user class affected or not? Program terminated abnormally, na? Then what is the solution to this problem? Other than reported exception, if you throw user class program will terminate abnormally. What is the solution to this problem? In user class, we must catch. Which exception we catch? Sometimes runtime exception may come. Sometimes some other unchecked exception may throw. Then what the catch block I should write? Do you remember multiple catch blocks topic when I'm explaining? You write your own individual catch blocks. You write your own individual catch blocks, and I told you, write your own individual catch blocks, and also I told you, you add backup catch block to catch any unknown exception. Backup catch block you must have. I told you, na. Now here you write the statement. User class programmer must have catch of exception E as backup catch block to handle or to catch this unknown exception. Now did you understand what the meaning of unknown exception? If some unknown exceptions are coming, we must handle, I told you, na. So the unknown exceptions are nothing but exceptions are throwing from overriding method by exception chain. Now I have given program here. Main method, listen first. A1 equal to new O. M2 method called, executed from here, interrupted exception thrown. Now it's catch by which exception? Class not found exception? No. If you don't write this exception catch block, program terminated abnormally. java.lang.interrupted exception. Message is what? Java.lang.runtime exception, java.lang.interrupted exception. It is not the main exception. This exception is caused by java.lang.interrupted exception. Okay, java.lang.interrupted exception. Okay, right. Then now I have to catch the exception by what exception E. Then now tell me, in this exception, what message you display? E dot print stack trace. Control 1, compile, control 2, execute. Now it is displaying same as JVM without exception message. Okay, exception in thread में java.runtime exception caused by interrupted exception. Okay, na? Now my question is, I don't want this runtime exception to display because it is just a carrier, right? I don't want the carrier lorry to display. I don't want to worry about carrier lorry. I need to worry about the goods traveling through this carrier lorry. Yes or no? I need to worry about the carrier team, carrier goods. So the carrier good is what? Interrupted exception. Then tell me, I want to get a message. What the method name? Get message. Now you want to get message, you want to get the caused exception. The caused exception. So inside exception class, we have a method called get cause. Method name is what? Get cause. Now this getCause method returns the exception object as throwable type. Throwable t equal to, because the exception can be any of the type, na? So that's why that the parameter is what? Throwable. Here, if you in place of exception, if you want to write throwable also, you can write throwable. But if you write throwable, the problem is what? Error type exceptions also handling, na? I don't want error type exception to handle. I want only exception type exceptions to handle. Throwable t equal to e dot get cause, and then here I am writing t dot print stack trace. Then what is displayed? Interrupted exception information is displayed. Everyone understand the program, how I written? So what the new method we have learned? Get cause method, right? Right on this program. All people understand exception chaining? What the meaning of exception chaining? When to use exception chaining? Tell me, sir, if I don't teach all these points, who will benefited? If I don't teach all these points, who will be benefited? I will benefited. How? Batch will be completed fast. Yes or no? Batch will be completed fast. Right? And new students will come, new money will come. And who will lose job? You lose a job. And in long run, I will also lose a job. Can I sustain as a long run faculty? Hmm? Completed? Huh? I am worrying about my job. Even you are crying also, I don't leave. I am worrying about my job. If I teach all these points, when you go to company, you know every point how to write a code. And when interviewer asking question, you can easily answer. In company, you can implement this type of techniques easily as an experienced person. So that will help you to understand, and your next generations also will come as a student to my class. Understand my point? I am not only teacher to you, to your brother, to your sister, to your children, to your brother, sister, children. Okay. So to all your next generations, I am going to be part of your life. Now I told you in the demo class, remember, I'll not be like a just a faculty, I'll be your family member. Okay. Now till I live, I'll be with you. Okay. That's what my intention. So people who are benefiting with this explanation, feel happy. People who are not happy with this, that's your headache. I cannot do anything. Congratulations, man. How many of you clear interview, written test exams? Okay, so we have two more rules. Let us complete them. Right? It's an interesting topic. It's a very interesting point. Write down rule number 5. Calling a method or construct at class level. You know, right? I can call a method at class level to return a value stored in a static variable or non-static variable. And also we can call constructor at class level to create object and assign to a referenced variable. To initialize static variable, non-static primitive variables, and to initialize referenced variable, we must call methods and constructor at class level, right? If a method or construct is reporting checked exception, we cannot call this method at a class level, and we cannot create object by using this constructed class level. Why? If you call a method that is reporting checked exception, I must handle that exception. How can I handle that exception? Either by throws keyword or by try catch. Can I write throws keyword to the class declaration? No. Can I write try catch at the class level? No. We must call this method or constructor only inside static block or inside instance block or inside another constructor or inside another method of this class by handling this exception. So this is the rule. Okay, this is a compulsory written test exam question. Completed? Only fifth rule. Make it fast. Today we need to complete this topic. Right, look at this program. Class test. This is example class, okay? Example class constructor throws interrupted exception. M1 method throwing class not found exception. We learn these two exceptions are checked exceptions. Now I am taking static int a equal to example dot m1. M1 method I call it class level. I must handle exception. Compiler throw error. Unreported exception, class not found exception must be caught or declared to be thrown. Then what to do? I am trying to write throws keyword to the class. Allowed or not allowed? Not allowed. Okay, na? Bracket expected. Next, can I write here try catch? With the try catch possible or not possible? Compiler will throw error. Illegal start of type. Okay, and then now tell me, can I write inside static block with a dot example dot m1? No, because I have to handle exception. Okay, compiler throw error, unreported exception, class not found exception must be caught or declared to be thrown. Then what I need to do? Can I use the throws keyword to the static block? Already we discussed this point. To the static block, we cannot write throws keyword. Okay, illegal start of type. Then what I need to do? I have to use only try catch. Ravuji, all people understand? Yeah, please write on this program. Okay, completed up to here. Okay, now let us try to understand with constructor. With the constructor also, same point. If you call constructor class level, okay, if call constructor class level, then it is reporting checked exception I must handle, compiler throw error. So write on side, okay, side of this program you have space now, side of all these cases, this side, okay, left side you write here, so that you'll see side by side, you will understand better. So we cannot. And then can I write a throws interrupted exception? No, syntax mistake, throws keyword rule. Then can I write try catch at class level? No, compiler will throw error. And then what to do? Wait a minute. Then what to do? I have to call the constructor inside static block to initialize static reference variable, in a non-static block to initialize a non-static reference variable, or in constructor for initializing non-static reference variable. Tell me, inside static block and instance block we cannot handle checked exception with throws keyword. Inside catch block can I handle it? Yeah, I mean inside constructor can I handle it? Yes, it is allowed. Okay, now write down these points, constructor based points. Yeah, tomorrow we have class at 7 a.m. Tomorrow we have Okay, tomorrow we have class at 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. Any objection? So tomorrow I want to complete exception handling chapter, remaining syllabus. It takes 4 hours. Are you writing notes? Completed all these points? Guys, completed? Huh? Yeah. So we will try to continue class tomorrow at 7 a.m. and we'll complete remaining points tomorrow. Okay. Tomorrow we'll complete exception handling, and Monday onwards we'll start what you call multi-threading. Okay. Thank you. That's all for today class. Yeah. Same link, 9 o'clock link. Same, whatever the link you have, you just join with this link. Bye.